Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back,
Thank you.
everybody. It's Joshua Boysie here, and today I have a special guest. I'm talking to Wes from Wisdom. Hello, how are you?
Hey, bro. Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Excited to speak to you. We've been talking a lot we've only spoken twice, really, the big conversations lately, but they've just been huge, and it's been really cool to reconnect with you. And yeah, it's cool that we're on here today having a chat. So yeah.
Good. It's exciting.
It's exciting, bro. So I guess we'll start as, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. You kind of do you don't do, I guess we connected with over men's mental health just through Instagram a couple of years ago now. We're both on that journey. So yeah, that's how we connected. So tell us a little bit about yourself for people who might not know.
Wes, short for Wesley. Come from small town Taitoko, Levin. Grew up out Waitarere Beach. Grew up playing rugby. It was kind of like life. We were little beach kids. Got into a bit of mischief when we could. Went to all my schooling for the most part was in Levin. Heaps of different experiences through childhood and teenage years into early adulthood. Ended up moving over to Oz when I was 24 in a dark place, and moving to Aussie actually saved my life, I believe. And then moved back to Aotearoa, New Zealand, the big beautiful land that we have here.
Yeah.
With more expensive to live though, but it's the price we pay. But I moved back here and with a bit, fresh perspective, and started a new journey. Ended up going through some other hard times that didn't really anticipate, but social media wise, Facebook was around. I was already expressing myself through quotes and different stuff on that platform when that was new after Bevo. Then I got introduced to Instagram in 2013. So it's 10 years this year that I've been on that platform.
Wow.
So it's
awesome.
quite cool. Yeah, 10 years later to be doing something, more official like this, in a way of having a planned sit down, whereas we, can do our unplanned yarns. And we've had a lot of Zooms and stuff in the past through lockdown. The whole wisdom thing is obviously Wes and wisdom combined. And a crack up dude from my hometown were on the piss one time, and he's like, "You should be called Wisdom," because he already knew what I was doing on social media and all that. And then it just stuck. But for years, just sharing quotes and different stuff on Instagram. I found it for me, it was like a more safe sort of space to just express myself and share what I want to share without not that I care about the certain other stuff anymore, but back then it was just more the peers' judgment and the people that, Facebook comes with the whole family and these different real life connections that you feel obliged to be friends with, and vice versa. They feel obliged to be friends with me on there. And so the content side of it was just less comfortable. So all back then, and Instagram was like, well, this is what it's about. Back then, you got to think way back then, quotes weren't cool. Quotes weren't a thing like that. And look at them now, people sharing quotes and words and all that sort of shit. It's saturated in it now. Everyone, whatever they're using social media for, they'll throw in a quote. So we rewind, we'll fast forward from that period to 2020, when around that time, I do feel like I'd already followed your page.
Yeah.
So again, aligned with how I'd kind of use social media in the way of mental health and just more mental messages. And then we all a group of us connected in that period.
Yeah, that was wicked actually. 2020. That was so just with the wisdom. So I agree with your quotes and how you're using it. I think that was what I loved about social media too. Like if you're in a group of mates and you just kind of laugh, get on the piss, have fun, blah blah blah, but then you're reading these quotes and they're really hitting home, but you don't really talk about them. And then yeah, man, I was the same. I was like, man, this is unreal. Like I'm hearing all these different quotes and perspective on life and how other people think. And then I was kind of sharing stuff too, and that was kind of what I used it for. And I agree,
exactly.
but then the obligation thing with Facebook's pretty funny. That's it's still going
Yeah,
today.
And then I always say that it's vice versa, like how I feel about certain people, and it's not a personal thing. Like it's just you're on different paths, or you just relate in certain ways, and just because you know each other, your friends on Facebook, and you're on completely different paths, don't relate to each other at all. Each other, you know. Whereas I felt like, and this is probably a bit different now with how social media is, what it's turned into.
Yeah.
But Instagram was like, realistically for me, it was like, well, either you follow me because you like the content I share, or you want to follow my journey, or you don't, you know. So it's an easier, not personal choice versus unfriending someone or not accepting your request. Yeah. So, and one thing I think on like random lives I've done, I've kind of talked about is again the whole mental health thing, because like physical health, it's so it's such a broad thing, you know, for ages, like even to now, like most of my stuff is mental health. It feeds me my mental better content and better stuff, you know, better substance in my thoughts, and vice versa with what it gives to other people. So I personally, if I was going to describe my journey on Instagram, it's it's been for me, but for other people, other people's benefit. Do you get what I mean? Like, who like I share something that I feel, or I know someone else directly I know that relates to, and so on. So if people have followed me for a long time, then they would actually really see growth, because certain content I would have shared back then was based on the headspace I was in and what I was doing in my life and all that. And other stuff is always what you're striving for too, or little reminders that we need. But the power of the words is really, unless we're having those conversations like me and you might have, where are you going to hear that stuff? Nowhere. So that's one of the biggest pros of social media, or let's say Instagram, and sharing quotes, is like, hey, well, those provoke a thought when you read the words, if you give your energy to reading, or time to reading some words. And that's the part that for me I think's kept me going, because it's a form of expression for myself, form of healing, form of growth. And then other people do benefit from it. Like I will say, not my following isn't a true reflection of my real following. And numbers on social media that, you know, be quite honest, that's misleading. People's perception, and I do believe, and this is just speaking from my side, but how people treat me, you know, like react to me in a different way. If someone in person has a yarn and then they're like, I heard you're on Instagram, you got this many followers or whatever, I'm like, yeah, but would you give two fucks if I didn't? Like, you know, so like for me, just like people yourself, like I want people to, and again, people can't like, not many physically, but like everything you share. That's just not reality. Like, we can't like everything we talk to each other about. That's not reality. We can't. That's awkward and uncomfortable. If I like everything that you did in your life, everything that you like eating, I like. You know, like that would creep each other out. Like, so I try to look at social media like that too, and just continue to do what you do, whatever you do online, in your way and whatever you're feeling, and express it.
Yep.
And it will hit the right people, and the ones who it doesn't, and that's it. Like, so rewinding back to, so you think even that's 2020, I'd already been on Insta
7 years.
what, 7 years. Yeah. So
Which is huge. Yeah.
I think the cringe things, if you went back in time to when I first was on Instagram, that's when like selfies was a thing. Like when selfies was a thing. So
Yeah,
I think after a while being on there, I fell trapped to that, did a few cringe laying down in bed selfies, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Like I love my journey with Instagram though, because I've just got a different perspective on social media than I think a lot of other people do. Unless, you know, people like yourself can have that because you're on there in that way. But then outside people would really have, like, with the pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
You know, us being a user at the same time as being a sharer, and that's where at times I get a bit torn with how I'm mentally feeling about the platform, or you know, so there's, in the past I've had breaks from it, from the user side, in the way of, or not shared. I've been off, longest I've been off is a couple of months, but I feel for now, I feel like it's so saturated in bullshit that, like, that's my motivation to just keep going. I'm like, and there's those individuals that I know, amongst the bullshit they see, they really value what I pass on or share. So
yeah,
and that's my motivation, and at the same time expressing myself, because that's how I express myself too. Like, you know, it's what it is. Words are powerful, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, and even the conversations we've had those 2 big calls.
Yeah.
It's powerful, and I've always been a talker. Always, like, and it's just just a different way of sharing that with other people. You know, with a wider spread group of people.
And through doing that as well, you're going to meet people that are more like-minded like you as well, which is awesome, eh? Like, obviously, like, we met, like, I was living in Sydney, you know, you're living in NZ, and then we kind of linked with all these other different people. We're all going through the same things, and we're able to talk about these kind of struggles we're going through, that's the awesome side of it, eh? Which was really cool. I think I found amazing. Yeah.
Nah, hard out. Yeah, and that's what I always the value of that though. Like, if we had that in that period of time, and there's so much change that came after that. Like, I know that subject, and it's a frustrating subject, but to be honest, without that lockdown and that, I might not have changed my life for the better. So I'm grateful for that forced change upon me in my headspace and what I've physically done, health-wise, mentally, and work-wise. So yeah, I'm grateful for that, man. Like, there was all that bullshit was feeding me good shit.
So good. So that's perfect. That's a great way to transition, man. So during that time, like, I know I went on a journey. Like, I decided, like, you know, like, work wasn't for me, and I went and did a lot of things with the young people, and created all these businesses, and you know, decided to try and help people where I could. And I think you went on a similar journey, man. So what happened there? So with work, it kind of shown all the things that weren't good about what you were doing at the time, or tell us about what happened there.
Like, the thing is with work-wise, I could say I wasn't in a good place, completely separate from my job. It was just I was in a real stagnant sort of spot mentally and all that, and I'd been in that job for quite a while, and it got a lot of good out of it, and you know, I'd saved, and we got into our home and all that sort of stuff, and you know, and that was like a goal. The first time in my life I actually had a goal, which wasn't really for me, but it was, you know what I mean? It was, so you get there, and you know, it's not the process is really the good part. At the end just comes.
Yeah, bro, that's right.
What's next, or what's now. So I think I kind of got to that, and to be honest, the whole house buying process for me wasn't really fun. So
Okay.
because of the market at the time, and and how the bank look at your earnings versus you having kids and all that sort of shit. So back to the work thing, customers, dealing with adults every day, basically putting your mental health in their hands with how they treat you.
Yeah.
I'm wired a certain way, you know, I'm me. I've got my own demons and, you know, good traits, bad traits, inner stuff that would be provoked all the time. And then you're basically really confronted, you know, quite regularly with coping and really knowing what you're coping with and what you're not coping with. And it was becoming exhausting and all that sort of things, and responsibility. And I felt, for me, I really invested in the business in an emotional way, which now I look at it as unhealthy, but it's just, they'd given me such a good opportunity based on my life and things I was looking for. And and then COVID come, the lockdown come, which was a crazy thing, and that just really, it showed me how my role was quite vulnerable, because I was customer service, dealing with the people coming in and all that, and that was kind of redundant in that point in time. So that kind of, based on how I was already feeling, it kind of flipped it again, and I was just like, and then and then certain things happened when I went back, and that made me feel even less in control, and so it kind of made me feel I don't know, vulnerable in a different way.
Okay.
And and then I had it was basically the thing, man, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So, and I was so loyal, like I couldn't look for other jobs while I was there. That's just who I am and all that, and was definitely back then. And I left without certain things happen that really forced the change. Never look back. It's only, and what came after that just is what comes in life when you do make a huge change. That was the biggest change I've ever made in my life, or biggest decision, based on the breadwinner and all that sort of stuff with kids, and and the fear of the unknown. It's always the fear of the unknown. We were already stuck in the fear of the unknown because we were forced to stay home for the first time in our lives. I'm a homebody. I love being at home, but some fucker tells me I have to be. I don't.
All of a sudden you got big plans.
So that kind of again, that helped, was forced change, and that's had a trickle effect long term on what's happened in the next in the 3 years since then.
So what has changed?
All that.
So from where you were, you're working in this job. It was a really good opportunity. You learned a lot there, and you're really grateful for it. And then you've got your first home, you've got a family, and then all of a sudden you're forced with change. But you're not in a good mental space. What kind of happens then for you to flip that?
Yeah, that was like I love being in the present now, so I can reflect on it, like in the way of, where is that mentally, like it was just a weight off when I left that role, but emotional too. Like it hurt, like leaving there hurt, because it was I was there 5.5 days, years, and my connections and that were good, and left some good people, and some good customers in that too, regular customers that I connect naturally with. But it was like the unknown. And then I got a guy I networked with from, like, in a business thing on behalf of the business I work for. He reached out to me, and he runs early childhood centres and locally, and just asked me, and like, this is just a mental shift of getting out of my comfort zone. It was such a big out of my comfort zone, leaving my job and all that. Like, I just said, oh, what have I got to lose? It's another learning opportunity, and I've just done this, so why would I say no to that? And funny how different things, and then suddenly all this other opportunity came too, that I was saying no to, and that was weird for me because there had been times in my life I was begging for jobs, begging for opportunity, and couldn't get. So yeah, jumped into that world, which fast forwarding through that journey, I learned so much more about myself through the inner child, and confronting who I am because of my childhood and all that. Learning about them helps. Just constant reminders of who you are and who you were, and which is a crazy experience. And on the other side of that, I was working in an environment that was all my triggers. Things that really affect me, noise and mess, they physically have a effect on me, like road rage.
yeah. Like, wow. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah.
How did you learn to deal with it? Because you obviously need to in like a day-to-day job. Yeah.
That was the process. Like my first days at Puddle Ducks, which was the place I worked, I was like having, I don't even know what sort of inner turmoil attacks they were, because I was like, who am I supposed to be watching? What am I, from that anxiety side of these kids are, I'm protecting them. I've got to protect them, got to look after them. So, and I was overthinking that, but that's where I come from. I'm like, if someone said, oh, can you look after my kid? Well, I don't want anything to happen to them, in my care. And so that was one thing. And and then things like the mess and constantly, but it's crazy. Just what you learn about yourself. Like, I'd recommend it to anyone who is in a bit of like in between jobs or whatever, and if that is an opportunity, just for a bit of a reality check.
Awesome, man. Bro, just quickly, I'm going to stop it and then do another link.
Cool.
You're working at Paddle Ducks. You got the opportunity. From there, what kind of happens?
So I was, my two sons were still in in-home care in Palmerston North, where we were renting for years.
Okay.
And so I just started at Paddle Ducks on the Monday and Tuesday, and he was like, oh, I'll just try it for, I think, like 8 weeks or whatever they said, and go from there. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I'd already put the value up more of giving my time to my own kids. And I was like, no, I can see myself doing this. And I didn't know if they'd be cool with that, but they were. So I stayed on with the 2 days, and and then the boys in the new year, so that would be 2022, started last year, they went into kindy over here in Fielding, and they were in there full time. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do with the other days? And I can't do relieving because I can't commit to the hours and so on. But they made it work for me. And so I was working Monday to Friday. I started working on a Thursday at a different centre.
Awesome.
So that was quite refreshing at the time, meeting new families and kids. When I say meeting new families, it was still COVID, like they had a drive-through drop-off. So that was awkward too. I was like waving out to the families, like, yeah, who's this guy with my kids?
He's got a mask on. I can't see his face.
Yeah. But that was refreshing. I think at the time, going into 5 days. Yeah, because to be honest, my classroom that I was in, and my first introduction to early childhood, was very challenging. You had teachers there who've been doing it for years that had never been challenged how we were being challenged.
Yeah. So, okay.
And then I did that till previously until, like, it was over the summer period. I'd a teacher had reached out to me who I knew about, they should be hiring teacher aides soon at this intermediate. And teacher aiding, to be honest, is something that I'd wanted to do forever, and other people said I should do, but younger, getting into trouble, having a criminal record, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So even if, that you had to wait to having a clean slate. So kind of just went in there and introduced myself, and again, still kind of COVID times in the way of we'd had other lockdowns, and uncertainty, and basically it was like, oh, we'll come back to you in the future if if we can hire you. And then it was random. I think it must be June. I can't remember what date it was, what sort of month it was. Maybe a few months from now, last year. But I got this random message from that teacher that I knew and said such and such principal wants to get a hold of you. And so I messaged her and she messages me, and she just kind of offers straight away. And then I freak out because it was this one evening. I'm like, change.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming, and I was like, nah, because it was like fixed term, and it still is fixed term, but I see that from a different side now. But till the end of the year, and I was like, yeah, and I was just a bit thrown, so I said no. But then I stewed on it for a day and a bit, I think, and then I was like, nah, I've got to at least have the discussion and go from there. So I'm not, if I am shutting down the opportunity, I'm shutting it down for the right reasons versus just freaking out.
Totally.
And then had a meet up with the principal, discussed it more, discussed a certain kid that was going to be my main focus, and a bit about him and all that, and then that just sealed the deal for me. Awesome. At the time, I was like, nah, that's what I was looking for, something bigger than me. The early childhood thing too, to be honest, was bigger than me. Like, you wouldn't do all that other shit if it wasn't.
Yeah.
For just the job, but I can give a bit more now in the role I'm in, and who knows? Not saying that one day I might not go back to early childhood. I don't know what's going to happen, but it complements. It's all how it's all happened. Is it complements what I do now?
Yeah,
I know kids about autism, other brain stuff with kids. The 1,000 days. Learn more about myself. And to be honest, preteens are kind of just preschoolers in bigger bodies for the most part, So I just love how it's been all organic, and I could never have seen it that way. Like just the other day, it's been 11 years since I moved to Oz. On the 6th of April 2012, I moved to Oz, and me back then would never have thought I'd be back here doing what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it. And so teacher aiding now, which the family life, it just complements that, and lifestyle, and that it's there's financial sacrifices, but we survive, and we've got more. It's like the time over money, to be honest. Like I can drop the boys off at kindy and school, I can pick them up from kindy and school. They don't even know. Like I try to tell them all the time, you don't know how lucky you are. Like with other kids, I was in my parents' life a lot of. I see my parents a lot of my life, but that's because they weren't working a lot of my life. In my earlier years. So that's a different scenario in that regard. They'll live in a life that I don't even know how you can live that life. Not meaning not being working, but just my parents' life and being parents back then. It's crazy, but
awesome, man. It's
all positive.
That's huge. Like I know, like it's all about what you want to focus on more. Like people might be more career focused, or might be just want to go hard in their career, and that's what it's all about. And then they sacrifice other things. But it sounds like you found the perfect balance, man. Like obviously stepped away from a little bit less. You've got a little bit less money now, but then you've got more time with your kids, and you've been able to grow up with them, going through these different career options, and just the growth and the change is pretty inspiring. And that's kind of the journey that I myself can relate to. So it's pretty cool, man. And it's cool. And especially with your family kind of situation, like with me, with my wife being pregnant at the moment, I'm pretty excited for that journey. And you've kind of been someone that I've been able to speak to lately about it, about being a parent, and how much I think you've said about how, it adds to your life, and you didn't think you could love as much. You thought you loved a certain amount, and the kids come, and then you love double the amount. And and you say it's the best and the worst. So Yeah. How have you found that, man? Do you,
Yeah,
loving it?
that's literally it. It's the best and the worst, and it's like the whole no pain, no gain, whether it's physically, mentally. Like again, you don't know really, you don't know good unless you really experience bad. You know, your good could be bad.
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, fatherhood, it's just it's a roller coaster, ups and downs, huge ups, huge lows. But you're always on the ride.
Yeah.
You know, like but it's a beautiful process. It just goes all too quick. And I can speak from like, let's just say my eldest, Rocky, he was I was working those 5.5 days when he was born. So I look back at, you know, because of Snapchat and things that my wife has, you know, you got a lot of memories in that. But I look back at that now and it kind of, it's like hurts me a bit that I missed that. And even my other son that I've been even more present with, it still hurts. So that makes me kind of feel a bit better, because you just hurt that. Everyone will feel different. I just hurt that they're just not, like, that phase is gone forever, you know, and I'll be hurt when this chapter's gone too. Like, that's just part of the process, and our parents and so on, it would be it's all the same. Just, but that's the time thing is crazy. But yeah, I'd say, like how I said about learning a lot about myself with working with the young ones.
Yeah.
I've learned even more with my own and your own ones, your own children. Yeah, they trigger you and push you in different ways. Just, you know, again, it's that love thing, you know, with, you know, whether it's relationships or anything that you love has a bigger part to play in your sort of hardship, or, you know, can make you feel awesome and it can make you feel shit. So and within moments, you know. So I always I might have said this to you before, I applied this with working with the young ones and even with my kids. It's, you know how we say one day at a time and all that. It's more like one moment at a time. You know, don't stretch out the day. You don't know what the day, you know, like the day. We can have a good day, and then those moments change, and whoa, how's it gone so south? You know, so but yeah, I'm bloody excited for you, especially when we look back in our convo last year. I'm sure that was last year, eh? At the end of last year.
Yeah, November.
When you put different things out, and I was like, yeah, can't wait till when we have that next sort of convo when it's real. But then again, it's still not real, is it?
Nah.
Real, but it's not real.
It's real, it's real, but it's not real. It's just we're talking. It's just all talk now. Yeah.
Another thing too, and I think I've talked to you about what and this is probably how you're feeling right now, is you feel like a bit of a passenger, you know, like and I felt that, you know, the waiting, the months, you know, first sinking in that it's even real, and and then waiting and so on. But
it is like, especially
it's just a journey.
Well, especially with my partner, like she feels, like she gets the cramps, she feels bloated, she feels sick, and then you're just there like trying to rub her belly, and she's like, mate, go to the dishes or something. Yeah. You just can't do. You're just such a passenger, but it's exciting, and I appreciate one of the things you said was, even with, you just mentioned before about how fast it goes, and just embrace this, because you don't have it again. Like, your partner's not going to be, partner might be pregnant again, but not for the first time. So
not for the first, exactly.
So it's all enjoy it. So I really am, man. And then another thing you've said as well, and this might just skip across, but it's just about my relationship with alcohol and how that's changed with having like, I've been wanting to walk away from it because I've been discovering my own mental health and about how it affects me, especially with training and all these other kind of things. And then I think with my partner not drinking because she's pregnant, and then I don't know, it's kind of, I'm ready to kind of move on from alcohol. It doesn't do the same things it did 10 years ago. So, and then me mentioning it to you that you've actually did the same. So you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think the big thing for you, and this is what it's been messaged to me about, is more so your relationship with it. When your relationship changes, like the action, then you look at it completely different. And then you add in things like, yeah, being a father and all the unknowns, and then what we personally think a father should be and all that sort of stuff, makes us think about our own experience with our fathers and their fathers. And
Yeah.
so like if I go back in time, I'd kind of already changed my relationship when I was in Oz, for the first part of that, I was partying hard and all that sort of, because it was a whole new world to me.
Yeah.
Everyone was a straight, females, everything was new. So like it was, in my natural instincts and the culture I've been brought up in was you just go hard. So that was me. And then I think because of other changes I'd made over there, I was mentally ready to make other things. So like I didn't stop drinking at all, but I was stopping the routine every Friday, live for the week, that sort of buzz. Came back here. I ended up working. I'd had some nights out and had a few unprovoked sort of incidents.
Yep.
That I was still in my 7-year period then, that if I was to be caught or these incidents like like violence and that on the piss, like if that was basically going to put me back at square one. So I'd had had a couple incidences with alcohol and violence, and that was just that it kind of cemented it for me. I was like, nah, this is just, it's only going one way. Like even if I'm not looking for it, it's looking for me because I'm still putting myself in that environment. And who I am when I'm on that substance, and my patience and such and energy, and what I feed into, and what I will let go and what I won't let go around me. But so that was confronting, and that helped. But then I was working on the door. It was like a doorman at our local. A guy had been a doorman for years, and who I'd actually had run-ins with too. Like, and then Grant, and got to know me for me. But this is just a drunk guy. He offered. I was in Palmy, and he hit me up about working down there. So I went and did that, man. And I think at the time I was doing a hospitality course, and I thought I wanted to get into like bar management, because I'm a people person and such. And I was like, oh yeah, that'll be the go. But then working on the door and in the pub and all that, I was just like, nah, fuck, this is so uncomfortable. Not scenarios of being uncomfortable because someone might be having an incident, just being sober around that was just like, nah. So that again, that was another perspective of being, because I've been sober driver in that before, but that's confronting in a different way, and you're just sober driving. You're not actually working in a drunk environment. And then and then we'll just say fast forward to partner being pregnant. That was like so at the time I was hardly drinking. It was binges here and there, binges, parties with a cool bunch of people too, though, at the time. So all that was healthy. Like I wasn't around dickheads or anything, and I wasn't being a dickhead. So it was all positive piss-ups and that. But again, what comes with that? And then it was being a father. The idea, I was like, no, I've got to sober up, because I was. It's such an unknown. You want to be the best version of yourself in that period of time. So I knew that I can't be the best version of myself if I'm still out hitting the piss. I don't care what anyone says. You're not like how I am. I just always knew that drinking alcohol, whether I liked it or not, was never a good thing in the bigger scheme. So I was just like, I think I ended up being sober right up until he was born, and longer. It was like 15 months. It was like 15 months completely sober period.
Awesome.
Then went back to drinking a bit here and there, and but again, my whole relationship with it had changed. My feelings towards alcohol. So it only took a few hangovers. It exposed it more, the impact it had on me mentally.
Okay.
So I'd have the egg coping and all that. You know, I'd have a good night on it, and I'd wake up and feel like a piece of shit. Even if I wasn't really hungover, and I'd just have dark thoughts. It would just fuel everything that I had negative. That wasn't even. It was all just created, but it would just fuel that. And then you got the physical side of the hangovers that I did end up having. I just couldn't cope with that anymore. The kids in the background, like, and yeah, so I was just like, nah. And then it's just gone into another thing of breaking the cycle and so family stuff, personal stuff, and like anything, I believe you can only really make true change if you're example of the actual change, come from those environments and all that. I come from alcoholism, like you do too, like, and a lot of people around us, so I ain't that. So that guy hardly ever drunk anyway. No way. I was partying at 14, 15, onwards, grew up my parents drinking, I don't know how many nights a week, parties every weekend. It was alcohol's been the norm. So going against the grain, but I am that guy that goes against the grain. Working in early childhood was going against the grain. I know there's other males in that industry, but a lot of them don't come from where I come from and aren't who I am. Don't bring what I bring to the table in that world. But being back around, coming up 3 years completely sober, it's just grown into a completely different thing in my head about it. And it's a journey that everyone, you have to go through for yourself. I wish society's made it society's put sobriety or sober life in the same thing of like extreme religion, or like it's such a the box they've put it in the way. It's like and no offense to anyone who is a monk, but it's like monk life. Like you're literally like, holy, like, but again, I've got a big list of reasons. I think it's a very positive thing to talk about, in the way of other people understanding it from a different side, and then maybe confronting their own relationship with it. Because I do believe that's realistically how you make a positive change with it, is looking at your relationship with it, and changing that versus just stop drinking. Because then long term, I don't think that's as sustainable. I think if you change your relationship with how you look at it, then it's an impact on you physically, mentally, and that then you'll really see it for what it is. Versus just, I'm just not drinking now. And I know you've gone through your own relationship with alcohol. When people actually do show vulnerability and talk about it, there's probably a lot more cons than pros. But fatherhood is the best why. Fatherhood's the best why. That is, it's bigger. My boys don't even know. Like they ask questions now and all that. They think alcohol's a real I mean, it's like picking up a gun if they see me picking up it. Like they've got that in their head now, but they don't understand, and they'll understand it more when they're older. Of course, I'm not going to be that dad that makes the choice for them, but I just want a positive them to see, well, you can be on the other side of it too. You don't, and the black and white reasons why, like, it is something we pay for, and then we physically pay for, mentally pay for. Like we don't pay to do anything. We don't pay for anything else that leaves us hugging a toilet bowl, spewing our ring out. Like, or you write off a day, like you're given a free day. Like
Can't be doing that.
At least a Sunday, And again, it's just it's been normalised, and that's just is what it is. I was that. I was how I look at it now, or I was that. So there's no judgment. It is what it is. But
same as me.
If anyone wants to put their hand up or ask tips or things, I can definitely. I want to be an encouragement to people to change their relationship with alcohol. Like I feel the bigger purpose of that now. but that's a natural thing too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have those conversations with people that open up those conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not going around preaching it there, you know. I do throw things out on my page and that more because I feel with social media, like it's the only thing on social media that everyone's an ambassador for, but not getting paid.
Yeah, man. Like the only kind of legal addiction too, like other than coffee, that you just kind of pushed on you. So yeah, like relationship with our families, like growing up around at parties every weekend, like changing the mold. Even this new job, an office job, man. I was coming from a tradie to an office job. I thought, you know, tradies are looked as more pissheads, man. But there's so much more alcohol in the offices, and like Fridays, you know, it's not you to go for lunch; it's you go to the pub. Especially in Aussie, it's a big thing. So it's good that I've come into this new job saying I don't really drink. So I've kind of started it. Like it's just like with you with your kids, they're not really going to see you as a drinker because you've created that kind of what they see. So it's the same thing. And it's good I've been able to speak to you about it. And you said the same thing to me, like, you're like, I don't want to preach here. And then I said, man, I'm actually thinking the same. And then from there it was
the timing of that. Yeah, see, I love the timing of that because I definitely don't want to come across that way because the same people that be having those conversations with me are the same person I was. So it's not, you know, like, and at the end of the day, I've said it all the time, is it's a society full of addicts judging addicts. So addiction is everywhere. We're all addicts in some shape or form. So, but I just know a lot of people like yourself, and if you've done what you've done and you are who you are with that substance, it's a fucking level up without it. I'll tell you that, you know.
Excited for it, man.
Yeah. Physically, mentally, fucking everything. Yeah.
And what, man, going on from there, so you've got another day back, you know, we're talking about Sundays, you're sacrificing a day, you know, and say,
oh, you got your, yeah.
And so you're not sacrificing your day now. So what are we talking, man? I know you've transitioned to, you're doing a lot of walking now, bro, and that's been a huge journey for you now. So I do a lot of running. That's kind of been a big thing for me too, like with alcohol, telling myself I've got to run on the Sunday, so I'm not going out drinking, I'm not doing this and that. And you're very much the same. So how's that journey been with that, man?
Well, the walking journey is cool because you can relate to that because, like, again, walking, there's heaps of things that contribute to the big changes in my life over these last few years. Walking is a big one. Walking's led to any other physical things I've done, and then the mental side of it, the cleanse that comes with doing any cardio. To be honest, it comes with biking, running, anything. It's a mental cleanse because you're just confronted with you're doing something physically, and well, your brain doesn't necessarily want to go along for the ride, you know. So you're forcing your brain to come on a walk or run or bike, and you go through all sorts of different emotions and that. But let's just say Isaac, Zane, and Tom, if we rewind back to the lockdown period, right? So they, in similar ways, had men's walking groups. So came from an angle of people coming together on a Sunday, go for a walk and connect, and show some vulnerability if you wanted to, but a safe space to create that. So if we rewind back to then, I wasn't doing anything physically, just working home. I wanted to start walking, so that was my big thing, was just to start walking. I was just like, okay, I need to start walking. Remember I bought those shoes?
I do, bro, I do.
And I originally put it out there on my Instagram and had made another page, and was all, again, how things change and how COVID hindered this, but then it ended up doing myself a favor because I had to go on this journey by myself, to be honest. But had all intentions to do a similar thing in my own community on the Sunday. It gets me walking, and whoever comes along gets them walking, and but the COVID thing kind of kept going, and of how you could be out and all that in public, it was and it didn't happen. And I don't know when I actually broke those shoes in, but boom, I was away. Just started doing these walks, and it was just a Sunday walk. I think it was like 11K walk, and then I signed up for a half marathon walk out Waitariri Forest, which is classes like my homeland, like roamed the whole streets and forests and the beach for years. So it was like a fitting way to be on that journey and do my first one there. And why I signed up to it, man, was the accountability of keeping me on the walks, because again, we make all the excuses in the world not to do this and not to do that. Well, not to go. Well, no one's forced. I'm not paying to go for that walk like it's a gym membership, so like I don't have to go.
Yeah.
Sign up for that. And it just led into ended up in that. That was 2021. Did a few half marathons in that year. Pushed through little niggles in that I had, because it's funny, I go do walking because you think that it's the easiest thing on the body, but then still have other issues. But had a bit of a break from that, man, and then I could see the gap in my mental, like not the physical, but just the mental. And towards the end of last year, I signed up for this, like it's more of a casual one, half. And I was like, no, to get me back walking, because I knew if I sign up for anything to get back walking, I just needed that extra push.
Yep.
So just jumped into the walking again, and I did a proper half in Whanganui in November. And then I was just like, if I'm ever going to do a full marathon or train for a full marathon, it's going to be now. Because of the commitment and all that. So I've been on that journey since January, and haven't missed a Sunday. I've got that comes up, the big ones in May, the day after your event.
Yeah, bro.
But it's been a process.
How's the training been?
Well, my regular walk is 16 Ks.
Oh, awesome.
And then I do every fourth week I do 30 plus. So my first one of them, I'd never even walked that long before. So that was completely separate from training for a marathon. That was an achievement, man. Like it was like being out on my feet for 5 hours, So I've got one more of them. I told you about that. The mental health Saturday, and that was a normal Sunday walk, which again, that I forced myself to do it, and it put me in a way better place. Awesome. So I can only recommend people go walking for their mental. Then last Sunday I was a bit sick, and it was the timing of or Saturday I'd been, and it was the timing of my 31. So I was but then I'd worked out the calendar of the walk being on my marathon one being on the 14th of May. And I was like, this is actually 6 weeks out, it's 7. So I was like, no, I'll just do my 16 the next 2 weeks, and then I'll do the 30, then it'll be the 4th week out from things. So that's what I've done. But no, it's been going good. It's tough. It's tough. I'm not walking, it's not a stroll. So and I'm still 100. I'm still over 100 kilos. So
wow. Okay.
I go to those events and I'm racing in my own way against myself. I can't walk how they walk it. I'm still probably look like a freak, but I'm in it. But if you measure me versus the proper walkers or the proper runners, it's when I actually, I feel like I'm back in the preschool.
I love it, man. Like it's because I don't know, it's just those habits, man. Like when I was drinking, it's easy to have a beer to relax because you've been drinking since you're 14, 15. Your brain's wired to do it, and then you get those endorphins because you're putting your body balance back in order. But really, if you just went sober, your body balance is in order, and then you go and get endorphins and dopamine another way through doing these hard things and actually do an effort to get the reward. That's why you do it, because you want to get it the healthy way. But when you're drinking and you're on the drugs and you realize you can get happiness that way, it's always easier to look back on. I don't know, like it just seems whenever you do a men's mental health group, you do it a walk, and then you're not drinking, you're doing these healthy things. It seems like you say, it's like a religion. It's looked at badly, but really it's just how life should be. And alcohol is just the perspective is just different. Like you say, perspective of everything.
And the thing is, we're a testament to it though. anyone that really knows us,
Yeah.
it's like a salesperson or whatever. We're a testament to our journey or whatever, with whatever our choices we make and new things that we do, whether it's sobriety or walking or running, fitness and all that sort of stuff. So like us having this conversation now, like you've got a head start on me in the way of doing those two together at the same time. So like it's actually crazy. I know like how your brain, from what you've given to me, how your brain works is already extra, man, like in the way of how you get pumped about things and that. But I honestly think if we were to have the same conversation next year and you're sober and you're still on this fitness sort of, well, not fitness journey, but you know, you're active and like, it's crazy, man, the levels where you'll be then, like you'll blow your own mind. Like that, and that's the conversation I'd love to have. And I've opened up that space for a few people on social media that I know, like, have been open about their relationship with alcohol, but they're really, really successful in their way of what they're doing. And I'm just like, I just want to have I've said certain things to them in text, but I just want like a face-to-face conversation so they can really feel what I'm saying, that holy fuck, your potential when you're sober is through the fucking roof. Like,
Yeah.
you this 1 month sober to the 12 months sober, because again, it's got to be your new normal. So it's not normal until it's normal. Like,
That's right.
Like it's like, yeah. So I'm nearly through. Like, how does now? I wouldn't be able to do this other stuff that, like, even those walks and all that. I wouldn't be doing that if I was still on the piss.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wasn't that guy. Like, I wish I had this mindset when I was younger, because who knows what could have been. But again, I can't look what my life is now anyway. Like, it's good. So in the way of the bullshit I went through and all that, it's made me who I am. So I can't, like we've talked about, resentment and things like that. You know, it's hard not to feel some of that, but I've got to flip that and use that as the positives of who I am, what I relate to, and what's, you know, how I can help other people relate to them, and through conversation or even sentences. But yeah, man, like you, Josh, like fatherhood is a huge why for the alcohol. You come from what we come from.
Yeah.
Separate, and then completely separate from that, how you already know your relationship with alcohol. So if you had to come from a family that didn't really drink, but you'd still drunk how you drank and felt the way you did, and you made that change, yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, your growth in the next year, holy shit.
I'm excited for it, bro, and I'm glad that, like, these talks are meant to be for a reason, and I'm pretty grateful for it. It's crazy. The other one last year, like, I was thinking about trying for kids, and now lucky enough to be having one myself. You know, grateful for it all. So grateful for this conversation today, Wes. I appreciate your time, bro. I know this was we're meaning to do this for a while, and yeah, you were saying this is one of your first times doing this, and man, you've smashed it. And I just can't thank you enough for your time, and just, you just helped me out in so many ways, man. I appreciate it.
No, likewise. Yeah, thanks for opening up the space to have the convo in an authentic way. But yeah, we're going to have plenty more chats over this period, man. And no, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Like, your growth is going to be fucking crazy internally, and what that pushes out to all these the shit that you can do now, let alone what you're going to be able to do with that more clarity, more self-belief, because you've been consistent and disciplined. And I'm fucking doing it. I am that man now. I'm going to be that sober father. Like, you're breaking the cycle. Like, what we're gifting in the next generation is fucking massive, just by taking that away.
Yeah.
Just because they don't know that ugly, you know, in their home anyway. Yeah.
Thank you, bro. This thing's just about to finish, man. I can't thank you enough. We're going to talk again, Wes. Have an awesome weekend, bro. Happy Easter, brother.
Good, bro. Enjoy your freedom.